What's up, everybody? On this episode of Hardtail Party, I'm reviewing my wife's 2020 Orbea Laufey H-LTD. I'm super excited that Orbea updated their Laufey for 2020. Should be a great all-around trail ripper. Let's take it out and see what it's like. Oh, conditions are perfect. Let's try this technical climb here. Did that really well. This bike has a great climbing position. I really like it. Seat angle feels great. Yeah, this has a super comfortable climbing position. The stack feels just right. The chainstay does not feel 435 long, feels closer to 430 to me. It's a balanced bike. I like it a lot more than the old one. I still like the old Laufey. I wouldn't mind a higher engaging hub, but that's pretty much every new bike I ride. I don't normally like the Maxxis Recons that this comes on. They're doing okay. They're slipping a little. They're all right. Being clipped in definitely helps on this stuff. I am clipped in today. This one's hard. Got it. This is the tricky part. Oh, nope. I did not have my balance. Try one more time. I'm finding the back wheel's a little bit further back there than I'm used to. I'm sure I'd get used to it with time. So I'm getting everything second try, but it is a little bit more awkward on really slow stuff than some with the shorter chainstay. I have a feeling on the downs at speed though, it's gonna make up for that. I like this bike more than I thought I would. It's a good little package. I feel like if I was on flat pedals it would feel more sluggish, but with the clipless pedals it does well. All right, let's see if this bike is as stiff as it looks. It looks super stiff. It's got like boxed, really stiff looking chain stays, triangular seat stays, that should be super stiff, triangular down tube, that should be super stiff. And stiff is good when you're climbing, but it's not good when you're descending. On a hardtail, it just transfers all those bumps into you and you lose control, or you get fatigued faster. Frame feels like a typical aluminum frame, a little bit stiff. But I'm glad it comes with 29 by 2.6 tires. That helps take some of the sting out. I wish the rims were a little bit wider for them. Then you could get a little less tire roll when you're running low pressures. This bike wants to go fast, I can feel it. I've not even barely tested it yet. Felt good. Yeah, I'd like a little more reach. I just feel really over the bars at the moment. But I appreciate that this saddle goes down all the way. Still have plenty of control, I just don't feel confident letting it go yet. Thank you. There's one more behind me. Thanks. It carries its momentum well. This bike definitely wants to go fast. Yeah, that's real stiff. The faster you go, the stiffer it gets. This bike steers really well. Really well. It likes to be lean. That's how I like to steer. Steer with the feet, not with the hands. Oh yeah, real great in corners. Real great. Among one of the best cornering hardtails I've ridden. Yeah. Oh, that rear triangle is brutal though. Super stiff. This bike is so fast on flow. It'll manual, but it takes a lot to get there. But man, does this corner well. Manuals take a good bit of effort. Not quite as playful as some of my other hardtails. Come on, clipping. Yeah, we got it. Tractor up it. Wow, I'm impressed. That did well. Oh, this is hard. Hello. Oh, that Recon is spinning, but I got it. One thing I want to say, this frame is stiff, but when you're running 2.6 tires, and in my preference, even 27.5 by 2.8 or 3.0, you can lower the tire pressure, and a lot of that stiffness doesn't transfer to your body until you hit a lot of it. Bunch of stairs, just repeated hits, just boom, 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 boom. That's when you start to feel it. But the average rock or route, it smooths it out with the wider tires. This bike is like the complete opposite end of the spectrum as my wife's DV9. Even though the DV9 now has a 65.5 degree head angle, so they have very close to the same geometry actually. Head angle, reach, chainstay length. They're totally different bikes. They have totally different attitudes. I would dare say the DV9 is slightly more comfortable on the downs than this. That carbon flex is a little more. But this bike, I feel, wants to charge harder. This thing corners so well. Love it. The DV9, I could take an awful line into a climb and ride out of it no problem. This one I'm finding slightly awkward on these slow techie climbs. I just find myself coming around an obstacle and not able to deal with it. Whereas with most other hardtails, I can just see the line I want, go for it, and get right over it. This one's a little more of a struggle for some reason. Oh yeah, so good. Let's see if this bike likes to party. I'd say so. Indeed. This thing likes to jump. Ooh, stuffed the front fork in there. I feel like he needs a little longer reach for my size. That was a little scary. There are a couple scary moments on some of those steppy, steep stuff where my front wheel would kind of get sucked in the hole and it got hung up and didn't want to push through it. It just kind of stopped on it. Yeah, this bike transfers a lot of the bumps. It rides like a traditional aluminum hardtail. It's pretty poppy though. It likes to jump. It's hard to get the front wheel up on bunny hops, but the back wheel comes right up. Yeah, it takes a lot of body English to get this into a manual for me. So playfulness, it's not as playful as some of the shorter chainstay bikes. Oh, it likes jumping into features though. These brakes are just fine. Honestly, I can't tell a huge difference between these and my XTR brakes on my cross-country bike. What would I upgrade on this bike? I'd love wider rims like those Ibis 34 mil inner rims, especially for a 2.6 tire. I'd love a better hub. And apart from that, I'd change the saddle. I think that's about it. Yeah, this thing is... Oh man, okay, so if it's smooth and you can just let off the brakes, this bike flies. It's when it gets bumpy that things get a little out of control. Ooh, hit my rim a few times today. Okay, so smooth, flowy stuff. You can let off the brakes and this thing rips. And to be truthful, this is where hardtails really come alive, and where a hardtail is almost always better than a full suspension is in smooth flow. And there's a lot of smooth flow across the country. I live in Sedona, one of the worst places to ride a hardtail just because it's so chunky, but a lot of hardtails are doing well with chunky lately. I feel the weight there when I get out of the saddle to just sprint up a little uphill. It's just a little sluggish. Oh, this bike loves to dance on the smooth ribbon of single track. Yeah, this bike loves to be turned with the feet, which I love. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to run any narrower tires on this unless I had perfect flow trails with no rocks or roots. You need all 2.6 inches of cushion on this. I'd love to try it with a 27.5 by 2.8. I think it'd take out a lot of that harshness. Yeah. Just gets a little bit nervous when it gets chunky. And for a lot of people, why get a hardtail if you're on chunky terrain? Check out how the light is hitting that one red branch. That's so cool. All right, let's wrap this thing up. What do I think of this bike? This is a good bike at lots of things. I wouldn't say it's my favorite at anything except maybe cornering. It's a fantastic cornerer. But this is a bike I would feel comfortable for the people that ask me, what bike should I get? And they don't want to do any research. They don't want to tell me what kind of trails they ride. They don't want to tell me how long they've been riding. They just want a one-word answer. The Orbea Laufey would be a great answer. It's a great bike for so many things. It's probably not the right bike for light riders, young kids, small people that are going to be put off by the weight. It's a little bit heavy, but adult riders that are over 140 pounds are going to have no problem riding this around. But it does tend to favor more aggressive riding. So if you do more XC spins, 20, 30, 40 mile days, you're going to feel the weight and it's going to get to you. If you want a rowdy hardtail that will fly on flow trails, or steep downhills, or you just want to see how fast you can go on the downs on a hardtail, this is a really cool contender, and I think you should think about it. For climbing, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Not bad at all, but it just didn't have that zip that the DV9 has or some other hardtails that I've ridden. It would feel a little bit awkward, and you'd come around a corner, there'd be an obstacle, and if you hadn't fully mentally prepared for it, known what was coming, you can't just push through it. I got hung up quite a few times. For descending, this bike wants to be a 10 out of 10, but I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It wants to be pushed so hard, but the only place I feel like I can really push it is on really smooth trails, because once it gets rocks and stuff in the trails, it starts skipping across and transferring a lot of that to the rider, and you have this out of control moment, which is unnerving. I've ridden other aluminum bikes similar to this that are way more composed in the chunky stuff, and they just want to keep going. So this bike wants to fly, but it's a little bit like a wild horse. I'm not quite ready to let it off the reins unless I know the trail really well and it's smooth. For playfulness, I'm gonna give it probably a 7.5 out of 10. That long chainstay tracks really well and makes it great for corners, but it's harder to get that front end up. It bunny hops okay. The front end feels heavy. It's hard to lift it. It doesn't feel like a dirt jumper with a dropper like some hardtails do. It feels like this bike was designed to descend. It climbs quite well, but when you get a pointed downhill, it wakes up and comes alive, and you start going and it just says faster, 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 until you're going faster than you should be on it and you got yourself in trouble. It's a fun bike. Like I said, I would feel comfortable recommending this bike to somebody looking for a hardtail that's going to be ridden fast. And if you're not doing a lot of XC stuff, if you don't want to do your research and figure out if you want a long chainstay or a short chainstay or a little bit longer reach, anything like that, if you just want a one-word answer on to what would be a good bike to buy for the price, this is a good bike to buy. What are some things I would change? I feel like the reach is a little bit short, and I feel like the rims are narrow for 2.6s. They should be, I would like to see 35 mil rims. The tires always felt too soft, even when they were pumped up a lot. They rolled a lot on the rim, and I had a lot of rim strikes as well. So I'd like to see a wider rim on that. The 12-speed worked just fine. I would love to see an XT shifter just to get that second click in there, but I'm nitpicking here. I didn't have any pedal strikes. The bottom bracket felt plenty low. This thing corners like a dream, and I usually feel that way on longer wheelbase bikes with longer chainstays. They just get into that corner mode and you just carry that speed through, and it's so beautiful. This has been fun to review. If you want to see other reviews that I've done, click here and here, and as always, there's a party in the mountain and you're invited.